Survivor's ready.
If anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it, now would be the time to do so.
The queen stays queen.
You said rustle feathers.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to calamity. We have ripe bananas all the time.
Dude, my prize isn't even $1 million. My prize was that I fell in love in this game. Love at first sight. Her name is Candace.
You officially go down as the dumbest survivor ever.
Welcome to Not Game, All Personal. Hey, we are a Survivor podcast here to talk about all things Survivor, more specifically the events of the premiere episode, Survivor 47. I nailed the intro. I was worried because we're switching from Big Brother Survivor mode.
You nailed that, man. I'm proud of you, quite
Thank
frankly.
you. Thank you, Tony, which is on this podcast, and I'm Nathan. How are you doing, Tony?
You nailed that intro.
You like that
I'm doing
segue
great,
to
Nathan.
introductions?
It was so good. Hey, I'm doing awesome. Survivor's back, and that's always an exciting time. Except these first couple episodes are always just kind of a mess until I remember who everybody is and everybody has an actual name in my head.
Yes. Before we hit record, and we probably just should have done this on mic. We played a little game and we were trying to go back and forth to see who could name the most people on the season after one episode.
I think name two.
I got to 3, so I had a fourth. So not great. But that's how it goes often with these episodes. So last season, I really did pride myself in knowing most of the cast after the first episode. This year, I don't know. I didn't give it the attention. Here's the issue, Tony. Okay, Wednesdays are a busy night now for us reality TV watchers. So I have people over every Wednesday. We watch the challenge, season 40, right? Big season.
Mm-hmm.
Big season.
I haven't even started it.
You haven't started it?
No.
Tony, what are you doing?
I think I saw who went home this week too, and it hurts my feelings.
Tony, watch it. It's good.
I'm busy. I'm a busy boy.
So we got that. We also have Big Brother, which is a podcast that we also record. Important to watch, right? Now it's a 2-hour premiere Survivor. So my Wednesday was just boom, boom, boom. So I apologize that I'm probably not going to be as sharp with knowing everyone's name this episode, but I got pictures up and I'm ready to fake it till I make it. You
Sounds like
feeling
a
similar?
laziness to me. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I watched the episode, so I know what's going on.
Great. I'm glad we can talk about Survivor. How we feeling? I feel like we always have to kind of just check in. Like, are we excited that there's a new season of Survivor, or is this kind of like oh yeah, it's back? Because I don't know why, but I feel like the fall season usually sneaks up on me. I don't know why that is, but every time it's like Tuesday, and I'm like, oh, that's right, new season of Survivor tomorrow.
It's always a couple weeks after like things start. So it's like now it's like during Big Brother, so that's surprising every time. It's a couple weeks after football starts, so it's just like surprising that there's a new thing also starting, I feel like.
Yeah. But nevertheless, it's here. I think I'm excited. It's really hard to tell after the first episode, and I'm trying to like adjust my expectations because I think last season especially, not great first few episodes, ended up being, I still think, the best season of the new era. So
the last 2 seasons have been the top 2, I think, pretty comfortably.
I think we both had those as our top 2 when we ranked them last time. That being said, I will say I didn't latch onto this cast yet after episode 1.
No, if nothing else, I'm annoyed with some people. One person.
I wonder who we.
There's some people who I think will be like interesting players, and I'm excited to see.
Hot take: there's someone that annoyed me on this episode.
Huh?
That hot take: there's someone that's annoyed on this.
That doesn't sound like me, right?
It doesn't sound like anyone on the internet right now talking about Survivor. No one on the internet is pointing out that there's someone who shouldn't be there, but
it's a weird thing that has happened a couple times in a row now on Survivor, where it's just like,
yeah,
how did this person make it in?
Oh, completely agree. I saw the best tweet. It was, I think the caption was like, "I'm assembling a team," and it was this picture of, we'll just say it, Andy, along with, oh gosh, what was his name from last year?
Banu.
Brandon.
Yep.
and whoever quit that same season as Brandon. I don't even remember her
Sean.
name.
Or the
Sean?
girl that quit the first episode. Sean quit
Yes.
episode 4.
He did quit episode 4, yes, but no, it was the girl that was in this. So it was like the 4 of them. It's like I'm assembling a team. Like, yeah, no, this is a very unfortunate. And I mean, I think those are all both. I think like you had obviously like the quitter is a little different than the other 3 who just like emotionally and mentally shouldn't be on this island right now.
Brandon was interesting because he was like physically just not prepared to be able to handle any of those games. Andy and Banu just emotionally and mentally can't seem to handle the game.
No. And I think that is fascinating because I think I don't know. I hate that I'm like becoming this person that's like kids these days just I don't know. You know, like but that's how I'm starting
Yeah.
to feel after season
Yeah.
after season where I like Brandon, I think I had some sort of sympathy for. I'm like, "Oh, he loves this game blah blah blah." But like now that we've had season after season, I'm like looking at Andy and I'm like I have little to no sympathy for this man.
Yeah, man, being upset that people didn't cheer you opened up a coconut is crazy. It's just
Yeah.
bananas, and it screams like just not confident. And he kind of said that. He's like, "Yeah, at home I have a community that surrounds me that I like feel comfortable and confident in. And when it's new people, yes, you're going to feel uncomfortable and probably revert back to some of those insecurities that you felt in the past. But just be like, "Oh, everybody's here and I'm just going to say everything." I'm going to say that I was going to turn on the person that I trusted the most or I was closest to. Like, it's just wild to see. Wild to see him just vomit all that out.
No, it is insane. And I think like that's where like the old man in me comes out of like kids these days, like what is going on? But then like
Mhm.
I wonder, like is this just a trend of like a reflection of our society on like are we actually just weaker now than we were 10, 15 years ago on Survivor? Or is this more of like Survivor just like trying to cast players like this who can have this redemptive arc? Because I feel like it might be a little bit more of that than anything. Because like you do
Yeah.
look at, I mean, Andy's 31. He's not Gen Z. Banu
Mhm.
is older, right? Like this isn't like a trend of like a bunch of high school grads that are coming on Survivor, and it's like, oh, kids these days. These are
Yeah.
like grown adults that just don't have it together. And again, I'm not saying that I would be great there. Maybe I would be them, but that's where I'm like, I don't think everyone should be playing this game. So I'm like, why is Survivor casting these people other than I think this is the direction that we've seen them go down of like trying to have people go on this journey to discover themselves.
Yeah, it's the story aspect of it. It's like, oh, they want everybody to be able to tell their story, and it's been a thing for a few years, and I think it's important that you point out that yes, these are older people. Like it's not people who are like 21 who are a part of this like participation trophy whatever. And like yeah, that I have takes on that, but I don't think it necessarily applies here. I think
No,
it's the
I want to
people
hear
that they're
all your takes
casting.
actually now on
We'll talk afterwards. But I feel like for these examples of people who it's just too much for, the fact that it happened twice in a row is crazy. Don't get me wrong. But then you have like David from started in Millennials versus Gen X and then
Mhm.
came back for Edge of Extinction. Like he's an example of somebody who came into this situation, definitely could have been the exact same way, but conquered those fears. Or maybe even a Cochrane would fit in that scenario where was able to like get past those insecurities and those like things that were going on and succeed still. And so it's just crazy that it's happened twice in a row, and there aren't really a ton of examples from the earlier seasons that come to mind of this type of thing happening, except maybe Colton on Blood versus Water, where he just loses his mind. Like that happens. It happened to him twice, and so there's an example of I guess of somebody else doing it. Um, yeah, I think it might just be it's happened back to back as I talk myself into that.
I think the big example to me would be Purple Kelly. I think it was her, right? Like
Yeah.
when the 2 quit the same tribal council, you
Mm-hmm.
know, And for 20 seasons, that was what we talked about. It was like, remember
Mhm.
that one tribal where people quit? And
Mhm.
now, within the past 6, 7 seasons, we probably have just as many people quit as the first 40 seasons. And I think that's like the rapid, I don't know. So, like, certainly it has happened where people were just not mentally, physically, emotionally prepared to be on the island. But I think at
Mhm.
this rapid of pace and after one night, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure this was Andy's first night in the at camp when he's was it Rachel,
Yep. He
when he's
pulled
like
Rachel
pulling her
aside.
aside, and it's like dude, you can't even sleep one night without, like, you haven't even done the immunity challenge before so it's like those are the things where it just is happening so much quicker than it ever did before.
And the physical like collapsing stuff, man. That's just
Like,
I would
get
love to
over it,
go on
right?
Survivor Big Brother. I would genuinely love to go on one of these shows. I'm in a state right now where I feel like physically I would not be able to handle it, and so I'd love to get in better shape before I ever tried to apply to be on one of these shows. Because I just know that they are extremely physically demanding, and I'm not going to put my body through that unless I know it's ready for it. And so you see these people, and you see Carson is a great example, even though we hate Carson, of course, because everybody hates Carson now. But like he packed on a lot of muscle
Hey,
going
hey,
into
hey!
that
I
season.
hated him from the start. Let me just make that clear.
You did. I
We
had to
got
fight
podcast
that battle
to
that
we got
entire
podcast to
season,
prove it.
and I still love him to death. But he like packed on a ton of muscle because he's like, my body currently is not prepared for this. And so you'd think that these people would do that. And yes, even like Caleb went in the one season got overheated and like almost died. So it happens. It's the second challenge, and you just spent half of it in the ocean, the cold ocean. I find it hard to believe that you're overheated right now. And so I don't know. There's stuff like that where it's frustrating, and I think he just got beat. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
that goes against everything we just said. I'm saying he's weak now. Um, I saw somebody saying that like, and this is going a little bit different of a direction because I think what I just said doesn't matter at all. Like there's people online that are like, oh, he cried and so he's weak, and like that's not why I think he's a weak person. It's or a weak player maybe is a better way to put it. It's not because he cried. People cry all the time, and I don't like it, but it doesn't make you weak.
I was
It's the
gonna say
fact that he
you're the
spilled.
number one don't cry in front
No,
of me person.
I don't like it. I don't like it. And if you cry in front of me and like as a in person, I am so sympathetic towards
Just
it.
not on TV.
On my shows, get directly out of my face. On
Yeah,
these
got
certain
it.
like these once in a lifetime opportunities, like get out of my face. That kind of doesn't make sense, but I'm fine
I
with it.
guarantee you Carson has cried on the show.
Yeah, not excessively. Not excessively.
100%.
Why is Carson the only example you bring up? Get out of my face.
Because you go on
Anyways.
how much you love him. I'm gonna
I'm
find
rambling.
your list of best Survivor players, and I guarantee you
Carson's number one.
they have all
Carson's
cried.
number one. He's
I
the
mean,
GOAT.
that is insane. That is insane. That is an
He's the
insane
GOAT.
take. Even as a joke, that's insane.
He's the GOAT. Andy, anyways. It's the like spilling all of these things and not being able to handle, not being clapped for opening up a coconut. Like those are some things. So yeah, it was just I saw that discourse online where it's like crying doesn't make you weak, and it's like yeah maybe being upset because people didn't clap that you opened a coconut it makes you weak. Like maybe
Yeah, no,
maybe that's the
100%.
issue
It's
there.
100% the reasons why we are out tears. We're letting out tears for just the most absurd. And it's all just like in his head, like the fact he's like, I'm at the bottom. Everyone's like, what? Like, we didn't even talk games, sir. Like, what are you talking about? You're at the bottom. Who says that? He's like, I just feel it. They didn't clap for me. I'm at the bottom. So like that's what we're talking about here. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
cry for things that matter. Don't cry because like I don't know, it's day one and these strangers didn't clap for you. Just stop. Just please stop.
Yeah, get out of my face.
Yeah, that's Andy.
Hmm.
Glad
Let's
we
just
got
stick
that
with
out of
the
our
Gata
system.
tribe at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they are the ones that we had to talk about most since they did lose the immunity challenge. Sent John home unanimously, outside of John's vote. That is. I mean, am I missing something, or was this a very weird decision to not send Andy home?
It's insane to me. I don't know. It doesn't make sense why that would be the decision they go with. And maybe it's because he panicked and was like, "Oh, they're gonna tell him they're voting for me." And if there's an idol played, then he's screwed. And so then I think he was trying to get votes thrown on somebody else just to be safe or something. But to get rid of him and to keep Andy it seems insane to me.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I was trying to keep up, it seemed like people talked with him and was initially like, okay, hey, we do have to vote for Andy, but since he said your name, we're gonna tell him that you're the vote, right? Which is a bad, like, already a bad position for John to be in, right? Like, I get that. And then John tries to start something with Andy, like an alliance or a move, and his thinking is like, might as well go big if this is my only tribal council ever. And then tries to put the votes on Annika, and ends up being the only person because it just gets out, and then everyone's like, John's playing way too hard. So I don't know. I do see, like, yeah, that is kind of a weird thing for John to be so aggressive, especially because he knows he has at least one vote coming his way. But
he should have just voted for somebody else. He should have just thrown a vote on Annika and been like, "Hey, I was just nervous if there wasn't something played," or talk to Andy and try to get Andy to flip his vote, and then the two of them just go one way. I don't know.
Yeah,
but yeah, the way that it worked out.
Because it was like once he started talking to Sam about it, I think that's what really shut it down. Where it's like, this is weird. This guy's going so hard, and then all of a sudden, like, the guy who's going so hard is more dangerous to your tribe than the guy who is just throwing everyone under the bus and not really good at challenges. I don't know. It's
and that's exactly what happened last year with Banu, where keeping him around was more valuable than some of the other, and it doesn't make sense ultimately. And I think it's loyalty maybe is what they're looking for more than anything. And I kind of enjoyed John, honestly. Like, he seemed fun. Jeff called him the, like, best storyteller in the history of Survivor, or maybe in the new era. I don't know, but that seems fair. The way that he, like, talked about the game was entertaining, and, like, felt very true. I'm kind of bummed that he's gone. Honestly, I would have enjoyed to see him play a while longer.
Did you know who he was before this?
No, still don't really know. I've heard of the podcast, but I've never. I feel like I heard of the podcast like 4 years ago and had it explained to me.
Yeah, I definitely listened to it a while back because I mean if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure
too, actually.
It's like an older, because, like, I don't know if you know, but, like, back in the day, like, there weren't that many podcasts as there are today.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like I started listening to podcasts maybe like 2016, 2017, and you would just, like, listen to stuff, like, just anything. Like, I would just, like, literally go on the podcast app that I had, I don't even remember what it was called, and just, like, see, like, what were the top podcasts, and, like, didn't matter the topic, genre, like, it was just, like, something to listen to. And so, like, I definitely listened to this one a couple times. So again, maybe like 6 years ago, but I don't know.
It sounds like something I did in my era where I was like, I want to know what's happening in politics. And so I picked out a couple podcasts to try to get, like, a wide array of, like, opinions or stands or, like, sides of the aisle, I guess. And his was one of them, but I don't remember anything about it. So yeah, I just slowly picked up, like, oh, Pod Save America, definitely heard of that as the episode went on.
Yeah, no, they definitely. If what I remember, and again, I could easily look this up right now, but I'll just go off my memory. I think, like, they did focus on, like, topics, because I remember there were a couple episodes that I listened back later on that people referred me to for, like, specific things, whether it be like urban development or something, like, political, but, like, topic focused, I guess, where they would do, like, deep dives. So I don't know. I mean, like, you could definitely tell, like, he has that personality.
Yeah.
I think, like, both political but also just very well spoken. And so I do think this is just a bummer because, like, I would love to see him play a longer season, see what someone like him could have done.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been fascinating to see him, because I assume their podcast tends to lean left, is kind of my understanding.
I believe so, since he did write for Hillary Clinton and Obama. So.
Yep. So that I feel like there's a lot of normie Survivor people that would have been big fans, and then they would have like looked up his podcast and been completely the other side, and they would have been upset, and that would have been fun for me. But I think that's not going to happen now that he's not sticking around very long.
Yeah. Actually, I should check in on the Facebook group. See. What?
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Wait, I'm looking right now on his Wikipedia. This sentence. Lovett secretly officiated the first same-sex marriage in the White House before the Obama administration supported same-sex marriage. What does that mean? He secretly officiated? So that means like the first same-sex marriage in the White House. So like the ceremony took place there, right? That's what I'm reading.
Yeah.
But he did it secretly before the Obama administration supported it. What? Like what? He just did that like it's like nobody tell Obama, but
what a weird thing.
I'm gonna officiate this wedding.
What a legend.
I'm gonna do it. I gotta learn more about that after we record. That's the word secretly is really standing out.
He was gonna lead an insurrection into the Second Tribal Council.
I saw I saw he said that on like.
They're not going to share that joke on the show because that'll just draw a line in the sand. I feel like for people on how they feel about him. But like that's kind of funny.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke.
It's a good joke.
It's a good joke for what he does. Yeah, I don't know. R.I.P. John. So the rest of this Gata tribe. I'm just really worried they're going to be the losers of this season because it feels like every year we have that tribe that just loses the first 3-4 challenges in a row, and
they won the first.
They did win the first, but like, I don't know. It's got to be a loss.
Good thing
for them,
they focused
right?
on tribe strength when they made this decision.
That wasn't even in consideration. I think we are long. Every season we talk about how they don't do that anymore. I think they don't even bring it up. It's just not an option. It's not a factor.
Nope. Unless it's Jonathan or something, they don't they don't care. Yeah, I think there's a good chance that they will be too. But some of these other tribes aren't like super intimidating. I don't know, they're more intimidating for sure than these guys are. But I like a couple of like I feel like all the girls seemed cool, like solid. Sam seemed solid. Yeah, I liked all of them except Andy. Essentially, I was like, yeah, I could see myself enjoying this person later on, except Andy, and of course Andy's still around. Sam is interesting, and I feel like got a big edit, so I'm very interested to see what his game looks like going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like we learned a decent amount about every single one of them, which makes sense because they went to tribal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I do have an impression from each of them. Like, there are things I remember. Like when I see their face, I'm like, oh yes, I remember you. Not the same with that other people in other tribes, you know. But like Sam, yeah, he got an. I think Sierra got a decent amount of like screen time, you know, talking about how her dad wanted her to be a boy, so she's just like a tomboy now for him, and you know, I'm like, okay, there's a story there, you know.
Yeah.
I think obviously like Rachel got a lot of time with Andy, and she's now being perceived as like, oh, she's a strategist, which Andy is also. Remember, he told Jeff, he's like, no, Jeff, I'm a strategist.
He is a strategist.
I'm a strategist, Jeff. Shut up. I'm gonna be so mean to him this season. I have lost patience with Survivor people. Okay, this is gonna be a rough season for me. I'm just letting everyone know I'm sorry, but like you're not. It's gone. It left with Banu last season.
Yep. I mean, we had 4 weeks of Banu or something outrageous.
Andy, please go soon. I think the only person on this tribe that got the least amount of time was Annika, but even her, I'm like, I feel like I got enough of an impression to have an idea of what could happen with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I was gonna say the same thing. She's the one that I feel like I didn't get a ton from, but yeah, she seems solid. I don't know. I didn't get a ton, so I don't have a ton to say. I feel like you teed me up to have a take, and I got nothing.
No, I'm just teeing you up to say anything about her. All right, you want to move on to a different tribe?
I do. Where you want to go?
Pick. Red or blue? Flip a coin.
Red. Let's go Lavo.
Lavo. So Lavo, I think got the second most amount of screen time.
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably.
I'm just like looking at the faces. I think the obvious person that stood out to me was Aisha, mostly because I am aware of her podcasting career.
Hmm.
Was that someone on your radar? Like, did you know who she was
Never
before?
heard of her.
No. Okay.
She mentioned Rob has a podcast though, so that was enough to be like, oh, that means something to me.
Yeah, she's not one of like the main people, but like they have so many people. They have like 20 different people that will like just come on once a month for an episode. So I've
Mhm.
seen her, not a lot, but like I knew who she was. I don't know if she'll be good. You know, I think it's always an interesting thing when you have like, I mean, this not because the thing I was thinking of with her, it's like not only is she a super fan, because it's like we have a Survivor podcast. That doesn't mean anything, right? Like if we were to go and play, but like in
Yeah.
her situation, like her podcast is literally with Survivor players. Like Rob
Yeah.
played Survivor. You got Steven Fishback. He played Survivor. Like
Hmm.
this is a podcast network surrounded with people like that. So I think the advantage is not only that she's like this super fan of Survivor, but she also has relationships with people who have done well at the game. So
Hmm.
I think that's a little bit of an advantage over some of these super fans, but I'm just curious to see if she's going to be good enough to like implement some of those things that maybe she picked up from them.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we mentioned it. I guess when we were talking about, maybe I think it was the last podcast, where there's a difference between having all of the information and knowing what to and knowing how to apply it.
Yeah.
And so yes, she has more information than anybody else on this season. I'm pretty confident saying, but does she have the tact and the ability to actually apply it in any meaningful way? Only time will tell. Yeah, we'll have to wait for the next couple weeks and see how she does. I feel like she was pretty decent. I feel like I got a good, like a positive sense of her like ability to do what she needs to do. She obviously didn't win the tools for her tribe, but she seemed like she was on the in crowd with her tribe, and so that's solid right there.
Yeah, well, it's
Or did she
interesting.
seem like she was in the in crowd? I don't know.
Well, okay, so I think here's kind of what happened was I think it was Rome who kind of pointed out like why would you volunteer to like not build connections with your tribe, which is
Mhm.
in a way what she did by volunteering to go on the quest. And then I think it was Teeny, Rome, Ishan, I think is how you say it, and then Genevieve, who like wanted to have this like 4-person alliance.
Mhm.
Which again, unfortunate for her that not being there. But then Teeny was the one who was like, well, let's get to know her first before we decide who we're gonna like. And then Teeny
Yeah.
kind of latched onto her. So I think Teeny being a fan of Rob Has a Podcast saved Aisha in this situation.
Genuinely, yeah.
So I don't know. I think Teeny's got potential. I liked what I saw so far. So I think like if they can team up, like that could be a pretty good pair to go pretty far.
Mhm. Yeah, they have to. They seem like they're like the smaller, so they have to get past the tribe stage, and then we'll see what happens. Like, that's how I always am with people who seem like they might not be the most physically gifted for these like tribe challenges that are a lot of physical strength. As long as you can get past that point to the solo game, anything can happen, I think.
Right. Yeah, I mean, who else on this tribe stood out to you? Because I think there's.
Keyshawn and is it Keyshawn? Is that how he's pronounced it? Kish.
That's how
Keyshawn?
I just said it.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out and correct ourselves if not. But
Him and Genevieve seemed fun, and so that like group of 4 seems cool. Rome was the one who like was running around and doing like trying to get like very obviously trying to get that idol, and so that's always gonna look bad when you're just very clearly doing these things.
Mhm.
Not the most subtle guy in the world from what I can tell, and also not very hygienic to just have him half his body in the water source. That was a wild move to me.
Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, I definitely think he could be the one who's like playing too hard too fast.
Yeah.
And I think even the confessional of him like pointing out tribe dynamics, I'm like, okay, let's just give it a day or two, figure it out.
Mhm.
So I'll be curious about him. Solomon, and nothing, right? I mean, like, who, right?
Yeah, I don't even remember him doing anything except for when they got up to go investigate what Rome was doing. He was kind of like, "What's this guy doing? He shouldn't be doing that." And he was like very, very upset.
Yeah. I mean, he's the old guy in the tribe, so I think naturally he probably won't be in with everyone else. But
Yep.
yeah, he's like the one person where I'm like, I got nothing, zero takes on him whatsoever. Not that I have strong takes on other people in this tribe, but like him, no.
He is there. That's the only take that I have though.
He's there. He's 100% there. Should we talk about the blue tribe then?
Yes, we should.
Dooku, we have an immunity idol on this tribe, found by Gabe.
Yes, we do. Doing
did
too
it.
much though. He got caught doing it.
He got caught, and I'll be honest, at first, I was kind of in on his lie or excuse. And then the second they show TK, he's like, nah, dude. Like, he didn't buy it at all. I was like, oh, never mind. Because at first I was like, oh, that's actually not a bad way to do it. And like, I just found this thing. I don't know. You want to help? But then TK's like, no, he didn't. He's lying.
Yeah, and maybe, but and he already had it down at that point, so or was pretty close. So maybe he could have gotten away with it. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely not. You don't just find a key ring and then figure it out from there. Like those are always more hidden than that. So TK was like, nah, that's not true. That's just not true.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think
Mm.
Gabe got like the most screen time out of anyone on this tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like that might be mostly due to him finding this idol. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that he will be like the main character moving forward.
I wanted to see his lie about like dropping the box down like the rock where everybody was like sitting back at camp like, what was that? Like what could that sound have been? And then they like never showed him coming back. I wanted to hear what lie he came up with for what that was.
We may never find out. I don't know. Maybe it's just a mystery.
I'm mad about it.
There are definitely people on this tribe that are very invisible to me. I think
Sue is one where Sue they're trying to send a message with Sue that she's either gonna be a big storyline soon or she's gonna be around for a while. Like just how much they
Yes.
showed her, I feel like she had a presence even though she had no right to have a presence.
well, her presence was all by other people like wanting to work with her, which was interesting. I
Mhm.
think it was both Gabe and then Caroline who were both
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we want you." And from the initial takeaway, it felt like her and Caroline kind of had more of a bond than Gabe did. Like Gabe was kind of like the second person that approached her, like, "You're my person."
Theirs was like a
Um,
mother-daughter vibe. Caroline.
Right. Like it was much more natural where Gabe was like, "Hey, strategically, this makes sense." So,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I'm curious how that will go. I think there has been this weird trend of like mothers on Survivor in the new era. Like
Mhm.
they all kind of end the same. Of they go pretty far, but then they always get cut like close to the end just because they are a mom and can't have
Yeah.
a mom on the jury. Like, you
Absolutely
know?
not.
I mean it's Heather, it's Julie, it's Maria. It like
Yep.
I mean the amount of moms that have placed 4 through 6 in the past 7 seasons is insane. So, you know, you got to assume her fate could just follow in line with the rest of them.
Yeah, that's absolutely possible.
The other person, well, there's 2 people from Blue that I don't even know what to say about them. Kyle and
Kyle and
Tiana.
Tiana. Yeah, I got nothing. Tiana was very excited about being the first native Hawaiian, and then did like a woo thing that I assume is a Hawaiian thing. That's the vibe I got,
Well,
and I liked it.
yeah. My relationship to that is my daughter's obsessed with Moana lately, and that's
Oh.
what Maui does. You know, Dwayne the Rock
Oh.
Johnson. That's like his thing. And so when she did that, me and my wife just we're like, what? So I don't know if that is just like a Pacific Islander thing, or if she's quoting that movie because it's like one of the only movies about, you know, Pacific Islands. I don't know, but
I need to
That-
know more.
that was my response to that. So I'm glad you brought that up because
Yep.
it's just like it's something triggering because I hear some like literally our 2-year-old daughter walks around the house going Yahoo just all the time. It's at the point where she sees a bird outside and goes, "That's Maui," because he shapeshifts into a bird. So like every bird is now Maui. It's bad. So
Naturally.
I got a complicated relationship with Hawaii, to say the least. There's
Yeah.
Kyle.
That's genuinely all I have. Kyle, I don't even remember existing on this season.
He's just not here.
Like he's brand spanking new as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the cast. I don't know. Again, we'll have more in the coming weeks, obviously. But I don't know. Like I said, it's really tough to get latched onto anyone at this moment. That being said, I am hopeful because I know the way that this goes, and one single week could completely change how I view this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always fascinating how this is such a polar opposite from Big Brother in like the entertainment of episode standpoint.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like very fascinating how we need to get to like either the merge or either like right before the merge. Like there's just something that shifts, and I think it's just like having fewer players, knowing who they are, knowing what each vote means when someone is voting someone else out. Because like even though they voted John out, someone I think that I would have liked to see, like I'm not emotionally invested enough to even care that much, So I don't know. I'm sure we'll get there. Are there any other
Right
like?
now, my judgment is were they annoying or were they not, and that's how I did. That's the lens with which I view every person on the season so far.
That's fair. Were there any other like twists or anything else with this season you want to talk about? I feel like this was pretty low on the even that goes.
No Sweat versus Savvy. It was like a 1v1 between the other two tribes. I kind of like that. You get to like earn something for your tribe. It kind of takes away the like, oh, are they lying about what they did? But that's fine. I think it's fine to take a break from that.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was pretty standard. I feel like they've really settled into a groove where they still switch up a couple little things here and there, but it's mostly the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I had some friends over. We were watching the challenge last night, and these friends have previously watched Survivor with us. They haven't for the past like 2 seasons. And when he was even like, he's like, "Oh, Survivor's on tonight, right?" I was like, "Yeah, it is." He's like, "Have they changed the format at all?" I was like, "Nope." He's like, "Oh, okay." And he was like, honestly, like, I think if they did, I think he'd probably watch it again. But he like literally had like his take was that like he's just not as interested because for the past 6 seasons, and this is not a diehard fan, like he's pretty casual, but
Yeah.
he was just like every season it's just like plug and play with different people, the same twist. I was like, that's not a wrong point, like older seasons, like I feel like there's more to look forward to. But I think like even now it's like we're seeing the same archetypes of characters, we're seeing the same like
I guess.
slight variations of players. And I think like it is starting to blend in all these seasons together.
Yeah, okay. I can see what you're saying, I guess, with that. The themes doesn't help for sure. Okay. It's like plug and play with different players. I was like, every season is that. And I was like, oh, some have Redemption Island, some have Exile Island. Like, there are different things that differentiate seasons. And the themes were a huge part of that. Because then you'd get different people. You couldn't have the same archetypes. But hey, Jeff loves it this way.
He does. He does love it this way. Jeff Probst. We're not getting rid of that guy. He's gonna be here forever. He's gonna die on.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
gonna die in Fiji.
He owns Survivor, I think.
I had the thought. And we could probably wrap this up because I don't got much more. But when these players are making a new tribe at their camp, because it is on the same islands that it has been on for like 15 seasons now.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult is it to build camp? Like, could you just very easily see the remnants of like, hey, this is where their shelter was. This tree is already perfectly positioned. Like, it just feels very weird that they're supposedly building this new camp on a location that a dozen other people have already done that.
Well, this one had the like giant rock wall, and so I was like, "Is that new? Have we seen that before?" Is that like been a part of these camps for a while? I didn't really know for sure, honestly.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just know I've seen like Survivor alumni watch these newer seasons and then take notes like, oh yeah, that was my camp. Or, like when we saw Bruce return, he got
Mhm.
emotional because he was at his first camp that so it's like it is a lot of
Yeah.
the same places. So I'm just like, surely that must be easier to build
There's
a
always the camp
shelter.
with like the long path out to the big rock or whatever
Mm-hmm.
out on the beach. There's like the beach path out to the big rock. That'd be a sick spot to be. I
Yeah.
think we watched somebody get injured there a few years ago.
Well, I think we talked about this before too, but it would be interesting to see like, is there any advantage of like winners based on which island their first camp is at?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are there
Interesting.
advantages on each one? And I think there's enough seasons that like we could do a deep dive if we really wanted to get those numbers because we have 15 plus seasons of
Yeah.
the same location.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be fun to dive into.
Okay, well I'm assigning you homework right now.
All right, done.
By next week, I want you to know where each winner started off their camp.
All right, done.
All right, anything else?
Gonna make stuff up. No, that's all I got. I'm excited for the rest of the season. There's nothing to like make me think that it's gonna be a bad season, so I'm all in. I'm ready to go.
Just reading right now, Sierra was Miss Delaware 2018. I feel like that wasn't talked about.
Oh, yeah, that should be discussed more.
All right, we'll talk about it next week. Okay, for more
Sounds good.
episodes, visit notgameallpersonal.com. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Really follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube at NGAP Pod. That is at NGAP Pod. I'm Nathan. This is Tony. And we'll see you next week.
14 seasons, 2 pals, 1 podcast.